that experience is all about. This word experience is getting bigger and bigger in college athletics, right? And we're talking about student athletes as amateurs. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily happening as much now. Student athletes, semi-professionals, before they go into the real world. So I think that's a natural evolution and a natural step in the most important 4 or 5 years of your life.
And last one for me, because I know people ask more football-related questions.
Not sure you're keeping the questions away from Randy. Randy is great.
These are all, no, what was some of your favorite things you saw in Europe?
Well, listen, I'd never been to Europe, obviously, the first time. So when you go, I love the Mona Lisa. When you look at the Mona Lisa, you're like,
I think first you start with
it's that bit, like it's shocking, right?
Our president's compliance.
Yeah, I love art. I love being able to see all the architecture, like I said before. I think with Mona Lisa was pretty important to go see. London, you got to go have a beer at a pub in London. You have to go do those things. Pick your ones you want to go to. The Louvre was huge.
Hey, here's my number.
All part of it too.
Please call me.
We had a trip planned to Italy in May, which we obviously canceled because of COVID. Last year in 2020, and we then canceled it again in 2021 because of COVID. So one of these days we'll get out to Italy.
Thanks, Coach.
One app is cool for us. We have a partnership with Entrepreneurs a little bit, so people can go through there, and it's cool for us to see how that's kind of taken on.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a lot of people who make us who we are, right? And Greg Schiano is, I'm a piece of Greg. Greg and I are two different people, but I'm proud to say that I'm a disciple of him. He taught me how to be a man. I grew up really fast working for him. He taught me how to demand from myself more than I've ever demanded, and I would consider myself maybe an overachiever, an underdog, hard worker. But I was a pup when I got to him. I always say I was a boy when I got to Coach Schiano and left man, and I'm forever in debt for what he taught me and how to run a program, how to build a program, what matters. Again, the word demand comes out very easily when I talk about it, because not just from your players, but demand from yourself exactly who you say you are. And if you do that and be yourself, you can do some things in this profession, and that's why I'm not afraid to be me. Because he was not afraid to be himself and still isn't afraid to be himself. And why should you be? That's what I owe. I owe so much to him, and he knows that. And this isn't anything, I talk to him all the time, and he knows how grateful I am.
It's like, all these things are happening. What? Like, all these people offer things.
You ever been to the Kentucky Derby?
Make sure it's not.
Have you ever ridden a horse in the Kentucky Derby? I haven't either. Good. But I can imagine right before you get into the chute, right, and they open that gate, that anticipation that you feel, and then when they open the gate, you go. The anticipation playing a top 5 team to open the season at Huntington Bank Stadium, with the crowd being back for the first time, sellout crowd, our third straight, with the top 5 opponent, it's awesome. But it's still a football game. Our players are taught to be humble enough to know that anybody can beat you if you're not at your best, but confident enough to know that you can beat anybody if you are at the best. They're trained that way. And it's just like the Derby. There's so many horses, and on any given day, one can beat the other. We know it's an enormous challenge. They're well coached, they're a tremendous football team, incredible tradition. I've worked there, I know it. But again, we have to focus on us. We can't focus on them. We have to be the best team we can possibly be September 2nd. And that's what we're going to work towards.
I think it's cool to see how other people have used it to team up to like with it makes a lot of sense.
People always talk about the timing of games. I mean, listen, to win a championship, and Ohio State knows this better than anybody, you better start fast, you better accelerate in the middle, and you better finish strong. And it doesn't matter who you play or when you play them. You better do those 3 things and just put 12 people on your schedule. So we need to be at our best every week, from start to finish. And if we can do that, we can find a way to be a pretty good football team.
How much does it help in terms of branding for the Big Ten to have games such as that, Michigan State, Northwestern, Penn State, Wisconsin, kick off the season, as opposed to other conferences that might have a bunch of other non-conference?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, right? There's a lot of ways to get it done. A lot of ways to win football games, a lot of ways to schedule. We have 12 games that we're guaranteed, and we're going to make sure we play all 12 in the order that they give us interesting. I don't have a lot of say in that. You know, there's people that make those decisions way above me. But I do know this: Ohio State's our first opponent. That's what we're going to get ready for. It's a great challenge to open college football. And like I said, that start fast, accelerate in the middle, and finish strong mentality is what our players have always been taught.
How do you see plan for one thing and then see a completely different defense, a completely different guy, a completely different plan? So that's what makes it interesting when you look at first games with anybody, and especially when you're talking about Ohio State.
That's the first question I've had on college football playoff. I think that means like no one cares what you think. So, but that's okay. But that's amazing. But you're 100%
right. I think it starts
but
with
there are people that are way smarter than me that are going to make those decisions whether to expand to 8, 12. I mean, Mike Leach said 64.
That's the first one.
I
So
mean,
what you have to do with it is
there's changes inevitable. It's coming. We all know that. But what's good for one team might not be good for the other. And what's good for the other team might not be good for the other team. There's going to be a lot of really smart people who get in a room and figure it all out. That's good for everybody, and it's good for college football at some point. As drastic as have a 64-team playoff, as somebody said, and have only 10 regular season games with 10 opponents that are all conference, and then get into a big tournament, to having it stay at 4 the way it is, to expanding to 12.
Awesome.
So for me, I let those people make those decisions. And my focus is the 2021 season, and guys like this up front, making sure he plays really well, or we don't have a chance to do that. So we got to play really well. Well, I think for Minnesota, the bigger the better. I mean, why wouldn't you have that at the University of Minnesota, right? But what's good for Minnesota might not be good for other teams. And nobody's making the decision just based on us, right? But our team, I mean, I've asked our team numerous times what they think about it. And again, same type of thing. What's good for one might not be good for the other. They all have their genuine opinions of it. But at the end of the day, people are going to make decisions for what we do and how we do it that have spent way more time on it, know a lot more data on it, facts about it than I do.
He can do it all.
And so whatever it is,
he can go outside,
we'll do what we need to do. If it's 4, we're going to work our darndest to get into that top 4 one day. If it's 12, then we'll work as hard as we can to be in the 12. If it's 64, same thing. Whatever it is, whatever it ends up being, we just all have to realize change is inevitable. And college football will continue to change, move forward, get bigger, and do things we've never done.
Can you speak on the, I don't know if comfort level is the right word, but having your starting quarterback back, especially going into a big opener like you're going
I was disappointed. Me and Bo go on Chipotle dates all the time.
Do you get the same order?
I wish it made you feel like I just show up and have a good time, put my feet up. I wish it made you feel like that. It doesn't. You know, you're a competitor, right? And like I said before, you're always knowing you're humble enough to know anybody can beat you, no matter who you have on your team, if you're not at your best. And our job as coaches is to get these guys to play at their best all the time and be confident enough to know that you can beat anybody when you play at your best. And Tanner Morgan is the heartbeat of this football team. And the way he's handled what he's gone through in the last year and a half, especially the last week with his father, just shows what type of person he is. And there's a person behind that number and that arm leading your team. And I couldn't think of a better person leading our football team than Tanner Morgan going into the 2021 season with the type of season we came off of, with all the outside noise and distractions and things that took us away from football and COVID and social injustice and all the things we dealt with. And nothing proves that more than when his father passed, the entire team felt it. The entire team. And we have so many players on our team that have lost aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas. I mean, you see it almost every day as a head coach. But when someone passes away and the entire team's affected by it, you know how much that person meant to our team, but you also know how much that player means to your team. And I think that's what, Ted's left a lot to Tanner, and how to be a man and how to live his life deep in his faith and how to be an unbelievable leader and do it the right way. And he's a great example of that. I'm sure his father's looking down and incredibly proud.
I think he has a question.
So I know
Next
you was
question.
Like, I know you was an
Anybody else got a
okay.
question?
You was
Can't
an
see the guy.
okay football player back in the day. So with this new NIL rules, if you could do it, what sponsorship would you go for?
Oh man, somebody asked me that.
Oh, for real?
You're a little behind on that one. I first of all, young man, I went to school at Northern Illinois University, which is in DeKalb, Illinois.
Sure.
Okay, DeKalb has a symbol for its city with an ear of corn. If you can imagine, that's what brings people to DeKalb, farmers, right? Corn. So there's not a lot in DeKalb, but I love architecture, and I'm from Chicago, which you know, which I love the Sears Tower, right? And when I was growing up, that was the tallest building, right? So, and I also love John Deere tractors growing up. So I would have had some type of John Deere tractor sponsorship through Sears, maybe. How was that?
Pretty good.
Pretty exciting, isn't it? You're like, what's Sears?
Yeah, I know what Sears is. I'm not that young.
Coach, I was wondering how you view the transfer portal and the recruiting process.
Yeah, we have our own philosophy. We consider ourselves a developmental program, so we're going to take young people from high school level all the way through their graduation as a bachelor's or a master's degree, and we'll keep that philosophy. 95% of our team is all high school student athletes, and develop them in all areas of their life, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually. But we're going to use the transfer portal to fill in and plug up some holes, some needs, just like we did this year. And we put some people in place that are able to fill some depth challenges, maybe some recruiting mistakes. Not only that, just maybe you have an area of depth or you need some more that you need to be able to provide that for. So we're going to dabble in it here and there, but we're going to stay to the philosophy we've had the entire time.
Is Mo going to get the ball in the passing game more? How much are you kind of expanding things?
I mean, if Tanner would throw it to him,
they both
check
left.
the ball down. Where do you see? They already left. See, they left. I'm just kidding. Mo's going to get, Mo's going to get what Mo needs. I mean, he is obviously the workhorse of our entire football team. He's one of the hardest workers on our team, one of the best players on our team, and they're parallel. They go hand in hand. But as I said in my press conference, I mean it. We have a pair and a spare, and then the heir to also fill the spare and the pair. And the better Trey Potts is, and the better Cam Wiley is, and the better Bryce Williams is, and the faster we bring along Kai Thomas and Bucky, which our team is named Bucko because they're not allowing him to be called Bucky within the facility. So, but the faster they develop and the more they can give us, the better we're going to be. So, and the better Mo's going to be. And so we're gonna lean on him in the run game and the pass game and do things to put the ball in his hand as much as we possibly can by keeping him as fresh as we possibly can too.
BJ, what's your situation in the team with COVID vaccines? Do you have a percentage of who's been vaccinated?
I do. We have a significant number. We have a significant number that I'm really excited about, and it continues to rise by the day. And I'm very excited about that. This team really loves each other, cares for each other, and I'm not saying if somebody doesn't get their vaccine, they don't care. That's not what this is about. Our players get to make their own choices, but they usually don't get the choice of the consequence. Now you get the choice of the consequence. You know what's coming if you don't, right? The NFL knows what's coming if NFL players do not. Our players know. Not only that, you know what it's like to go through a season when you're down 35 players, right? When you've been a contact. So players get to make their own decision. But we've let the medical team and the medical staff answer all those questions for our players, inform our players, educate our players on it. But we have a significantly high number of vaccinated players on our team that continues to rise by the day. And I'm really excited about, our football team moving forward in that department.
Is Mike Brown-Stephens someone that can help you this fall?
Oh, he is. He's a guy. The wide receiver core is going to be kind of a unique core this year. A lot of answers are always, answered. Questions are always answered before the year starts in our wide receiver department. Whether it was, Corey Davis at Western Michigan, or Tyler Johnson, or Rashad Bateman, you've always known those things. Chris Altman-Bell is ready for that role, but then behind that, there's a lot of unproven guys, a lot of young guys. I mean, Chris Altman-Bell has done a great job of leading our team and leading the wide receiver unit to grow up really fast. But Michael Brown-Stephens has to contribute at a very high level. We have a very, very fast wide receiver core. A lot of inexperience, but a lot of talent and a lot of speed. They've worked incredibly hard in the offseason to emerge to what they want to become. And Michael Brown-Stephens is going to have to be a big-time playmaker for us to have a lot of success in the pass game.